right, race fans, you got Ryan Aho and the Bert Lehman bringing you episode 56. Can you believe it, Bert? 56 episodes. Pretty soon we're going to be saying 100, but that's a little ways out. Let's see if you can put up with that long.
How many episodes do we have to do before we move into syndication? That's where the real money is.
I think we need to put another zero behind that. I think if we get to 560, I think then maybe, but yeah, I think we'll just stick to having some fun, right?
I'm sure Puka's already on the watchful eye on that.
Hey, I'm thankful for Puka. It's Thanksgiving week. I'm thankful for Puka. We'll do the show, and he can try to figure out a way to make all that stuff work. I just want to talk race. And I told him from the beginning, I'm like, if nobody listened to this thing ever and we just got to talk racing for an hour every week, I'd be golden because I could talk racing all day, every day, just like all the people listening to a racing show. I think you know what I mean. So definitely just having a blast doing this deal. But episode 56, and let's get after it here. Let's start with a week in review. And I've been doing this for a little while now. Keith, we'll start with your buggies. All right, we'll start with your buggies. What really, honestly, proved to be the most exciting racing of the entire week, and is actually the USAC midgets. Now, I'm trying to be politically correct. I don't know if we call them USAC midgets. We call them USAC little cars. I don't know what to do there. We'll just call them USAC midgets. That's what they say. I'm guessing at some point somebody's going to come down on them. They're going to have to change the name because that's just disrespectful. We'll just let them figure that out. What do you think?
Yeah. Don't pick on the short people. I'm one of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Me too. I always said, people said, man, you're a little chunky there. You're a little overweight. No, I'm not overweight. I'm not. I'm just like a foot too short for my weight. Okay? That's all that is. So, midgets here, they actually started on Tuesday. They had the November Classic over in Bakersfield. And if that was the only race I could have watched all week, man, that was good. That was good. I'm talking about like the Slide Job Fest of Slide Job Fest. Buddy Kofoid, you USAC people know exactly who that is. I heard the name, don't know much about him, but he was teammates with Young Money Kyle Larson in this, and they chucked some sliders there, Bert, and I'll be honest, Young Money might have been a little aggressive. I mean, he's chucking sliders and giving his teammate the right rear and punting him up the track. I'm like, this is pretty good. It was exciting. It was fun to watch, but Kofoid came out on top. Did you get a chance to watch any of that?
No, I didn't get a chance to watch any of that. I had a lot of stuff pop up this week that normally I wouldn't have to worry about. But when I was checking out Facebook, I noticed that there are quite a few comments from race friends that I have on Facebook that said, "Oh, you got to be watching these midget races." I mean, and some of these comments are coming from, I know, diehard late model fans.
Jonathan Powers, right? Jonathan Powers he put it on there. I'm like, all right, and Jonathan Powers, he is like, him and Dad are all in on late model racing. If they're like talking about like, you got to watch this, that should get your attention right there for sure.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And, like I said, I didn't get a chance to watch any of it, but, I like to watch the midget cars, every now and then when they're on. It's something different, and, they put on, obviously they put on a great show. I watched three different race events this week, and they're all late model events, and they weren't that. We'll get to those later, but yeah, I'm wishing I would have watched some of the midget action.
Yeah, for sure. And you can. I mean, you have Flow, so if you jump on Flow Racing, they have kind of a neat deal. They have all the races, but they also have it broke down to features, and they have it also broke down to like some highlights and stuff like that. So jump on to Flow Racing. I mean, all late model fans, you obviously have Flow because that's Dirt on Dirt now, and you'll be able to catch that if you missed it. Now, Friday, Saturday, Bert, they stayed in California. They went to Merced, and that was the USAC Midget National Champion. 53 cars in attendance for that. Night one went to TMAS, and the only reason I know this thing is I went to a race in Sycamore, Illinois, and I saw TMAS there, and he put on the show. He didn't even race the heat. He came from dead last, won that deal. I mean, he made him look stupid. And he won night number one. Night number two, he went from hero to zero because he ended up upside down. His night was done after that. But Tanner Thorson He's a talented race car driver. He ended up winning that deal, and boy, that was a good race. I mean, they were swapping back and forth, and Kyle Larson really of them two races wasn't all that impressive. He got a 9th and a 4th. So Keith, I'm sorry. I know you're dating. I know it's your boyfriend. I know. I mean, I'm going to call you a pit lizard because I think you have a little man crush there on Kyle Larson, but he is human. He got a 2nd, a 9th, and a 4th over the weekend, which, I mean, you jump in a car and compete. I mean, it's still good, but I'm kind of got used to seeing him win, right? Now, the points. Now, here's something I'm not sure about. Maybe one of our listeners can post in the comments. Is I don't know if the points went all the way through the final show here, or if it was done, or if they just had championship weekend. We saw that with some late models where they had like championship night, but there was no points. I don't know how that worked. All I do know is Chris Windom won the USAC Midget National Championship by 1 point over Sunshine Tyler Courtney. So the point battle in that deal was pretty impressive. I honestly wish I would have known that going in, because it would have kind of given me – I'm a points guy, right? So it would have kind of drawn me towards that if I would have known that, but I didn't know about that. So that's something I guess we have to make a list of all these different series and kind of keep track of that next year as the series has come to an end, because for me that's fun. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we kind of talked about this last week a little bit, where it kind of seems like some drivers don't care about points as much as in the past, but I think a good points battle really adds to the program. I mean, if at a weekly track, I always like to be there the final week, and I'm always hoping that the drivers are within striking distance, so not one of those cases where you just have to start the race and you win the championship. I like watching a race where, okay, if this car finishes 2 spots ahead of this one, stuff like that. And, it changes lap by lap.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I remember, I've had a few of them deals myself in racing, but even when I was done racing, I remember one year I believe it was these 3 drivers. I think it was Kurt Myers, Dave Moss, and I think maybe Timmy Johnson were all like within 1 point of winning the national championship in the Wissota Super Stocks. And they had I don't think it was called the Pumpkin Race at that time. I think they had a different name for it, but it was at Mississippi Thunder. And I went there specifically because I was drawn in. I'm like, I wanted to see who was going to be the national champion here. So I'm with you. I mean, I really enjoy that, and it's something to kind of keep track of. And there was quite a bit of, little mini series coming down in late models, but let's stick with the open wheels for just a second. Let's talk about Volusia. Now, I know that you didn't get to watch that because that was modified racing, and, well, you hurt. And
no, I like modified racing.
So they actually had, now this is a name race fans everybody recognizes the Rudiman name, right? David Rudiman raced NASCAR. Buzzy Rudiman, I don't know how old this guy is. I think he's 70s or maybe even into his 80s, and he's still racing. And so that was kind of neat to see Buzzy Rudiman racing in that deal in the Emil and Dale Rudiman Memorial over at the Volusia Speedway. And really the story, I mean, there's several classes, but it was a modified special. It was $5,000 to win. And the story right now in the UMP modified world is Longhorns kind of taking their claim right now in the modified world. Longhorns by Lowenbrow. Tyler Nicely parked it in Victory Lane, okay? He had a Longhorn. So Longhorns, who they're running awesome on the national stage in late model, now with Steve Arpin kind of tied in with that deal, now they're going to try to make something happen in the modified world. And a guy that has won a ton of races down there, Nick Hoffman, Elite Chassis, let's just say that he's a little extra motivated right now because some of the guys that were in those elites are jumping over to Longhorns. And I kind of thought he was going to win, but he ended up with a left front flat, got 3rd. But it's going to be kind of fun to see how Longhorn competes, I guess, more so in the UMP world, and that's kind of elite country. You got, Hoffman, Krupp, right? You got some of them guys. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Now, Bert, here's something that was kind of neat. So my buddy Jeff, our late model expert, watching a modified show, incidentally. Now, they did have late models there. They were great late models, but he was watching this show, and he says, hey, you got to watch the intermission. I'm like, dude, it's intermission. Seriously, I don't need to watch intermission. He's like, no, you got to watch it. I'm like, and I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, all right, well, he was genuinely excited about it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna jump on Dirt Vision and I'll scroll back through and I'll watch the intermission. It was pretty cool. I don't remember the guy's name. Who's the late model announcer for the World of Outlaws?
I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but I should know his name, but yeah. Anyway, Jeff said, hey, this guy's great. And he's right. He was. I mean, it brought me back to my childhood with Freddie Fran up in the announcer's booth, giveaways. He was down in front of the crowd. They were throwing hats and T-shirts and getting people excited and hooting and hollering. And next thing you know, there's a whole bunch of people on there. And he's coming up and he's doing kind of a funny type trivia, right? Like he'd ask them like trivia questions, but then there'd be kind of a twist to it and be like, yeah, no, you're wrong, but you still get a prize. So it was kind of fun, but in my mind, I'm thinking we have way too many classes and not enough of this kind of stuff. See, there are diehard race fans. Okay, there are. And the diehard race fans right now are going to be like, dude, shut up. I don't want to see any of this other crap, right? That just is what it is. But the fact is, there's not a ton of diehard racers, which says what? We need to have more fans. We need to get more people involved. We need to get more people loving being there, and maybe eliminate a class or two. Now, even the diehard fans are going to be going, yeah, we need to eliminate some classes because the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 class shows are absolutely ridiculous. There's not a person on planet Earth that wants to sit at the racetrack for 10 classes. Nobody wants that. Why these promoters right now are thinking this is a good idea is completely beyond me. I really don't get it because it actually takes away from the entertainment value, waters everything down. Everybody's frustrated. It's way too long. Eliminate some of those and bring back some of this extra stuff to get the fans involved and make it more of an entertainment venue. So hats off, whoever was, I guess, involved with putting that together, whether it was the announcer, whether it was the Ruderman family, whether it was the people that run Volusia, whoever that may have been, right? Hats off to them because it was a nice little addition to see down at the, I guess I'm going to better take a look here, the Emil and Dale Ruderman Memorial at Volusia. So pretty cool stuff there, Bert. Might want to check that out on Dirt Vision.
Okay. I will make a note of that.
Hey, one more on the old, I still got a cough. I had, for those of you that are wondering, I had the Rona, right? And the only thing I got left from the Rona, I got this little bit of a lingering cough. And if you listen to enough shows, you're like, dude's always got a cough. Like, probably should get that checked out, right? But it's a little bit worse now, but that's it. I'm all clear. I'm good. I can get back out in the public now. I'm excited about that. Still have no smell, which, you know, if you're at the right hunting shack, that could be a benefit to not have that smell. So if you're hunting this week and you're in Wisconsin, don't get COVID to lose smell around the hunting shack. Don't do that. It's not a good idea, but there is benefits to that. So speaking of that, let's go down to IMCA country. They were down. They had a triple header, Bert, on the Desert Thunder Nationals down at, I guess it was in Central Arizona Raceway in Casa Grande. I actually went there with my family several years ago. I went there with my parents, my sister. She lived down in Yuma, and IMCA mods were on the card. And I know that you probably don't know this, and there's not anybody that's ever been good in a modified that is originally from Arizona. But I'm just going to let you go ahead and guess who won all 3 nights.
Number 20 car.
Close. Yeah, you're exactly right. The 20 RT Ricky Thornton Jr. Now, I will say this. Night number 2, and really the track was not great. But on night number 2, there was a northern driver down there from up in North Dakota. I raced against this guy, Sean Strand, and he was down there. And he drove around Jake O'Neill, got the lead, and he looked good. I'm like, this dude's going to win. And then they got into lap traffic, and he couldn't quite navigate the lap traffic and was driving off the end of the racetrack, and O'Neill ended up driving off the track, and that left 20 RT basically just handing the check, the race is over. I don't know if he would have won the second night if both of them guys would have drove off the racetrack. So, but it was pretty cool to see Strand down there. Now, a name that you might know. Here's a name for all of us Minnesota, Wisconsin folks up here. A legend. This guy's a legend. Back in the I guess, late 70s, all through the 80s. He's from Elleville, Wisconsin. He ran the Green 97. You know who I'm talking about, Bert?
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
You remember him?
I remember him racing mods. I don't remember him in a late model, but I remember him racing mods.
Yeah, and I remember him mostly in a late model, and then he ran a little bit of mods. And we're talking about Rapid Ron Schreiner, who a few years back, he moved down to Tucson. He's raced all kinds of different stuff down there. But now he's in an IMCA sport mod. And he was running some asphalt stuff, and he's like, I just want to race. I don't care what it is. I just want to race. And I think he's like 62 years old, which is still young, right? Which is still young. But he went out there. He got night one, he got a fourth, then he got a DNF, and then he got sixth. So he ran pretty solid, and he had a pair of heat wins there. Running a number 5 car. I don't know the story. Might have to try to talk to him, see what the story is. I always remember him as 97. Yep. And kind of fun, kind of brings me back to my childhood, watching somebody that I grew up, before I even thought about racing, somebody that I remember racing down, I guess primarily, I think Menominee was like one of his home tracks. So pretty cool seeing him there, Bert.
Yeah, I agree. I remember watching, I think, I usually saw him at the Wissota 100 when I would go there with MJ McBride. So I do remember him in a modified, even though he's from the western part of the state. I do remember seeing him race.
Yeah, he's from Elleville, which is, I guess, just south of Eau Claire. And it's kind of cool seeing a guy move. He owns Schreiner Enterprises. They built a lot of racing components and stuff. So pretty cool seeing Rapid Ron. I guess I had no idea. I jumped on there kind of to watch Ricky Thornton Jr. Next thing you know, they're like, Ron Schreiner. I'm like, wait, what? Ron Schreiner. I'm like, all right, this is kind of an added bonus. I thought that was kind of cool. So, hey, you ready to get to some late models? You said you did watch some late model racing.
I did watch some late model racing, yes.
All right. Well, hey, where do you want to start? I'll let you start. Where do you want to start with the late model racing?
Well, let's start with the Fall Nationals. That was the first one. That was I felt like I had deja vu back to Alabama all over again. They had the weird setup again where they run a feature, then the super late models are running heat races, and then there's a different feature. I mean, the program was all scrambled up. And then it's like, I think that was the show that the hobby stocks came out and raced, and they look like late models. Everything looks like late models down there.
It's a unique deal, that's for sure. And it was a season finale. Of course, the Schaefer's Fall Nationals is Ray Cook's deal. He has a spring one, he has a fall one. And this particular race was at Sonoya, the Billy Clanton Memorial, which, as it turns out, I didn't know this until looking it up, but that is Shane Clanton's dad. So they had a memorial race for him. And they started at 3 o'clock, and Bert, it was a marathon. I mean, it was a long program. And Smokey Madden, he got her done. He wins the A main. Yeah, I'm going to post the video here. What's your thoughts? Did you see his pass for the lead?
Was that on the restart?
Boy, I don't remember if it was exactly on a restart or not, but I know he got by Clanton. It might have been on a restart.
Okay. Well, I just remember, Clanton, there's a little tussle, and shortly after that, Clanton pulled off the track, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I mean, I guess in that type of track, you just do what you have to do to get to the lead. Yeah,
you don't go to the racetrack to make friends. Typically, you bring your own. I didn't think it was bad. I mean, I'll let fans kind of look at it. There was a little bit of aggressiveness there, but I don't think it was like he garbaged them or anything. It was just kind of like...
No, not at all.
And Donald McIntosh didn't have a great night. I think he was like second to last as far as cars left on the racetrack, but he did win the series championship, got that done. So that was over at Sonoya. Less than impressive racing. Keith kept kind of giving us a little crap saying, I don't even know, I watched these over technology, buckets of bolts, lead sleds or whatever he calls them. He goes, it's not even exciting racing. And don't get me wrong, I've seen some extremely exciting late model racing. It just didn't happen on that night. And,
the funny thing is, I've watched several of these fall national races, that series, and they're all like that. I mean, the fans down there must enjoy it. The drivers show up for it. But yeah, I mean, it's totally different than what we have up here.
Yeah, we're pretty fortunate. We're pretty fortunate. We got a lot better racing. In my opinion, we have a lot better racing up here than they have in that region down there. Not that they don't have good racing, but I think we have more of it. Plus that track's a little bit bigger too. Kind of got spread out. I just don't like big racetracks. Now, the Carolina Clash, that's another series down there. Okay, so we just talked about Donald McIntosh winning a series. I think he had that deal about locked up before the race started. But the Carolina Clash series, Bert, that one was not locked up. There was a pair of races down there to conclude that series. Why don't you talk a little bit about, I guess, the first one?
Well, is that the one that Zach Mitchell won?
That is.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I watched that, and Zach Mitchell won 10,000 to win show. That was his second 10,000 to win show of the year. He's kind of had a coming out a little bit this year. He's won a couple of big races, and I know he's been competitive in several big events. But definitely, in my opinion, this was the best track of the 3 late model races that I did watch. It was a little topside dominant. I mean, it was a fast track, but it wasn't locked down at least. And, you know, it wasn't dry slick. I mean, drivers could actually race around on it a little bit. Zach, there's a decent, I don't know if did you watch any of the race?
Yeah, 18 cars. Kind of weird. 10,000 to win, only 18 cars. Zach Mitchell kind of gave him an ass kicking, to be honest with you. I mean, he drove, I think he passed Brett Ham for the lead. Brett Ham got second in that deal, but he just put a spanking on him. And Overton was there. He was in third, I believe, at one point, and he got fourth. He just kind of looked okay, which was, to me, weird. Usually Overton in a race like that's going to be the guy to beat, and he wasn't on the podium, and really it didn't look like he belonged on the podium in that particular event.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like it was a fast track where, you know, everybody was fast, so, you know, there wasn't a lot of passing. It was interesting how Mitchell took the lead. He tried to pass low in 3. I mean, he was down low in 3 and 4, and then going into 1 and 2, he went to the outside and powered by the leader to take the lead from, you know, with an outside power move, which was pretty impressive to watch. And late in the race, Chris Ferguson was kind of making a charge, but every now and then he'd jump the cushion and he'd slam into the wall. And one time, and he was able to keep going the first time, but the second time not so much. He brought out a yellow because he hit the wall a little bit too hard and won. Yeah,
you live or die by the high side, they say, right? You know, that's kind of what happened there. And going into this deal, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, Dennis Franklin. I did kind of look at the points on this one. Dennis Franklin had a 44-point lead with 2 races to go. So in my mind, it's like over. I mean, 44 points is a lot, right?
Yeah.
And on this particular race, Brett Ham, he got second. Looked really good. And Franklin, which is Dennis Rambo Franklin, late model guys know who that is, he got 7th. So still, really, after that first night, it was, I don't know the exact numbers, but it was over 30. I mean, it was still a pretty substantial lead going into that last night. And the last night, of course, was the Blue Gray 100 at the Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, South Carolina, which was the final night of the series for the Carolina Clash, but night number 1 of the Extreme, I think it's the Dryden Extreme Dirt Car Series, night number 1 for that. Let's talk about that a little bit, Bert. What did you see there?
Yeah, well, the first thing that struck me when I was watching the highlights was the race started in the daylight and ended in the dark.
Yeah,
you know, I didn't know if I was at the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte in the NASCAR race. But that's one thing that struck me. Another thing, I mean, lots of cautions. This was one of those races where, as you say, Hoosier was the winner because drivers were popping tires left and right. I mean, it was actually a situation where it was better to pop your tire early in the race, change it, and come back out. Because Madden was leading the race, with 8 laps to go when his tire went. And so obviously, even if you change your tire, you're not going to make up those positions in only 8 laps, where Overton had to pit early in the race and was up to third with 17 laps to go. And another interesting thing was, as I'm watching it, the announcers were just going crazy. When's this tire going to pop? And it reminded me of wrestling announcers, and it's just like, when's this tire gonna pop? And then when it did, oh, there it goes, and you just got all excited.
And that's good. I mean, they had to play that up. I remember one comment they made during that race. They said, the track's not really abrasive, they're just racing really, really hard. I'm like, wait, what? Like, every single driver got a flat tire, the track's not abrasive? What are you talking about? And my buddy Kraus, Jeff Kraus, he said it's locked down rubber. And I'm like, I don't think so, because the bottom had like a big tack strip down there. And then everybody was kind of running their left side tires and that, spraying marbles up all over the whole track. It didn't appear to me to like lock down rubber. It seemed like it was really gritty and abrasive, and they can run different compounds of tires. I don't know what the particular rule is there, but I'm thinking everybody just went too soft, because they looked at the track and they said, hey, look, the bottom's a little greasy. Well, this ain't going to be hard on tires. Well, that one lane above that grease turned really abrasive, and I don't think it really locked down. Just looking at the lap times, it's not like they just got faster and faster and faster. I think it was just kind of one of those deals, and it was kind of funny. And somebody posted about a race coming up down at Bulls Gap, and it starts at like noon or some stupid thing. So I commented on Facebook. I'm like, what is with all these day races? Day racing sucks. And one of the folks from down there says, well, they got to race during the day. The track's too slippery if they race at night. I'm like, what? I'm like, do they just not get it? I'm like, I've been around. I might not know everything about racing, but I do feel like I've been around a little bit, right? And every single day race I've ever seen is slippery. It just is what it is. And it's more slippery when the sun's out, and when it's I just didn't understand it. But I'm like, whatever. Thank God it's on. I can watch it on pay-per-view or on demand. I don't have to sit through it. That's all fine and good. But Overton, like you said, he got that done. Now the points battle with all these tire changes, they kind of, the announcers did a pretty good job playing that up, because at one point, Hammond changed tires. Rambo's ahead of him, and like, if he could have just maintained, not got a flat, boom, he wins the championship. There goes his right. I don't even know that he had a right rear. I think he just anticipated that he had to go in and change it. He may have had a flat. I don't recall. But needless to say, he went in and tried to make a power move on the outside. It was all marbly. Nothing happening there. Brett Ham gets 5th. Rambo finished far enough back that Ham actually swallowed up that whole lead and, stole his 2nd consecutive Carolina Clash Championship. So, I get it, there's some drama, but it really annoys me when championships are won because the track sucks so bad that everybody's tires blow. That's just not. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if I was the guy that won the championship, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'll take it. But it's just kind of a sucky way to lose. I mean, give us a racing service that you can race on, and not have to worry about everybody blowing a tire, because it's just not cool. But, it is what it is. But needless to say, the racing wasn't all that terribly great. And if not for all them flat tires, it would have probably been really boring. What do you think?
Right. No, I agree. And, as after I watched it, I was wondering, from a driver's perspective, Madden has to know that drivers are popping tires left and right. He's still on his original tires. There's 8 laps to go. I mean, there's nothing he can do but just run until he wins or the tire goes. And, that's a unfortunate situation and feeling to be in.
And if you watch that race, Madden's car was extremely straight. Like, you could tell, like, he was really driving a good race, conserving his tires, not sliding the car, not abusing his equipment. And the guys behind him, they were yard sailing that thing in. And it's like, these guys are all wrecking their tires. Maybe he's got a chance because his car was so balanced, it just rotated the corner. But Yeah, I mean, he just 100-lap race on a track like that. It is what it is. I mean, Hoosier Tire definitely won on that one for sure. Usually drivers only go through one set of tires in a race. In that one, it was like 2 sets of tires in a race. So Hoosier definitely was a winner on that one. But
And
I see a lot of that down there. It's kind of weird.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, it seems like almost every other podcast we're talking about a race like that. But one other note from that race was Kyle Strickler was racing there. I mean, he was one who popped a tire too, but he was racing for his new team that he'll be racing for next year, and he has a new graphics scheme, which is it's very similar to the one Hudson O'Neal had, because he's racing for the team that Hudson O'Neal used to race for.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he likes it because it's free. I think the car's not quite as nice looking, but as long as he gets to put some feature win stickers on it, I don't think he really gives a crap either. So that's enough about, I guess we can call them real late models. Let's call them real late models. And I wasn't going to talk great late models. I know there was an event this week. You know, they had one. And I'm like, I kind of looked through the results and it appeared like there was anything too extravagantly exciting. But then I did a little research, and I'm like, holy shit, this is pretty good stuff. I got to talk about this on the show. So they had Crate Racing USA Series at the Deep South 100 in Loxley, Alabama. Okay, and I just saw this stuff like not too long before airing the show here. And Will Harrington, he slipped by Joseph Joyner, the Hunt the Front dude, to win. In that Joyner, another podium finish. He ran good. Another tire game. Lots of blown tires in this one as well, right? This race, Bert, just this one feature, not the program, the one feature, took an hour and 45 minutes for one race. I'm like, oh my God. Like, are you kidding me? And then I'm like, why did it take so long? Well, there's lots of yellows, 13 yellows, lots of flat tires, and a portion of that, there was a boxing match out on the racetrack. I'm like, all right, you got my attention. All right, what's this all about here, right? And a couple of Milton, Florida drivers. there was a wreck. One of the drivers that was involved with the fight wasn't even in the wreck. Apparently, he cut a guy's tire earlier in the race. One of the guys in the wreck, there was a James Gilmore and a Mike Lane. I don't know these guys at all. They're both from Milton, Florida. Incidentally, the one dude got out of his car. I think it was Gilmore. He went down to Lane. He starts flapping his gums. Lane gets out of his car. Next thing you know, they're boxing down in 3 and 4 and rolling around on the ground. Both of them got disqualified. So then I text my buddy. I got a friend of mine, Ryan Fowler, runs a mod down there at the Southern Raceway in Milton. I'm like, y'all are crazy. Like, he goes, that was only one of 3. He goes, there was 3 fights that night. He goes, there was only one on the track, but there was 2 other fist fights there. I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? And he's like, yeah, he goes, evidently there was way too much testosterone going on. And that reminds me, Bert, so I was down in Milton, Florida, the Southern Raceway. We talked about the Southern Raceway there last week with that, I think they had all-star sprints down there or whatever. And that's up in the Panhandle over by Pensacola, kind of right on maybe 5-6 miles from the Alabama border. Dude, the war, not over. It's not over. Like, it's still the Confederacy down there, right? I mean, it is straight up true story. They are full-on redneck down there for sure, right? And I remember, so the first night I was down there in the mod, and keep in mind, it was just my daughter and I, and she was maybe, this would have been 2009, beginning of 2009. So she would have been 14, I believe, at the time, 94, 04. Yep, 14. She would have been 14 at the time. She was my only pit person, right? We're down there racing. In the heat race, this guy yard sales me. I get put to the back. He yard sales me again. We kind of play kissy face on the track, and I pull up to him on the scale. I drive over him, and I flip him off, and I keep going. Next thing you know, like, him and like 5 of his pit crews are walking towards my trailer. I'm like, oh, Christ. And like a whole bunch of people came over to my trailer. They're like, dude, like, don't say a word. I'm like, why? I'm like, screw this guy, right? And they said, no, like, he just got back. He was suspended for like almost a year because him and his pit crew literally beat the hell out of somebody with a baseball bat. I'm like, oh, this is good. Awesome. So, yeah, so he comes down and he's like, we got a problem. I'm like, no. I said, I'm just racing you like I race, like you race me. He goes, yeah. about time somebody's actually willing to race with me. Everybody else, a bunch of pussies around here. You know, I knew you northern guys would like to race hard. I'm like, don't get me wrong, I don't want to wreck. He was like, what do you mean? I said, I just want to win. I'm here to win. I don't want to wreck stuff. Oh, he goes, I thought you guys like to race like that. I'm like, no, not particularly. I will, but I don't like it. And we kind of like mended fences, and I won, and he come back down after I won. Oh, man, he gives me a big hug. Great job. Hey, good job, buddy. And everybody's looking like, I think this guy's bipolar or something. Like, I'm not sure what to think. But they are flat out nuts down there. So they had the boxing match on the track, and it kind of reminded me of that, but kind of gets to thinking, right? So NHL, you take the old NHL hockey enthusiasts, and you say, you know what? I just want to watch hockey. I don't want to watch all this stupid fighting crap. I just want to watch hockey. And like the old enthusiasts are like, oh, no, that's part of the game. You got to have it, right? So you got half of them saying, oh, no, you got to have fist fights, and the other half going, this is ridiculous. Like, literally, these people should all be in jail for, like, giving people concussions in a fist fight. Are you kidding me? It's, like, stupid. Well, should this be allowed in racing? In fact, should it be encouraged? I mean, you look at it, some of these races are awfully boring. And, you know, I heard somebody say one time, if you fight in the pits, we're going to fine you $100. If you fight on the track, we're going to pay you $100. You know, weigh in, and then I got a couple thoughts on it. What's your thoughts there, Bert, on fighting at the racetrack?
I don't think there should be full out fisticuffs fighting. You know, I know you talk to old timers, and you know, you hear stories about, you know, that's how we did it back in the day. You know, we took care of things in the pits and that sort of thing. I mean, I think rivalries are good, and some rubbing with your cars. You know, I remember, you know, watching drivers go up the scale after a race, and, you know, one will, you know, just give the other a nudge while they're waiting to get on the scale, you know, little things like that. You know, I've seen drivers yelling at each other, and I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but
I've never seen that before.
You know, all out fisticuffs. Don't get me wrong. I would create a lot of excitement.
You know,
and I mean, you always hear the saying, what is it? I can't remember, but no news is bad news, or no news is bad PR, or that sort of thing,
mm-hmm.
because your name is out there.
Right. Yeah, and there's some truth to that. You know, it creates excitement. Now, good, bad, otherwise. I mean, you're gonna, you know, weigh in. Fans, you know, hey, what do you think? Should fighting be allowed at the racetrack? I mean, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be penalties, but in some instances, it's like, 30-day suspension and this and that and the other. Is that too much? I mean, if somebody gets in a fist fight in the racetrack, should you just say, look, hey, you're disqualified for the night. Get your shit together. Come back next week. Let's just get past it. Because if people get in a fist fight tonight at the racetrack, I guarantee more people are coming next week because they want to see what the hell's going to happen, right? That's exciting. Now, is it good, bad? I don't know. But I guarantee if there's any kind of altercation as a promoter, you play that up, right? And if you play that up, and if you play it up well, you're going to get more people going, well, wait a second, you know, what's going to happen? It's kind of like that WWE mentality, right? You know, so I don't know if there should be knockout, drag-out, fist fights, brawls, whatever. I don't know. But let's face it, sometimes racing is too politicized. I mean, it's too, you know, Richard Petty says, oh, dirt racing is not professional. Well, I guess this maybe kind of proves that again, right? But the fact is, you know, I think maybe NASCAR and stuff's too professional.
I agree with that.
What's the one thing that put NASCAR on the map on public broadcasting?
Yeah.
A fist fight in the infield.
Yeah.
There it is, right? So that put NASCAR on the map. Now, and then they're going, oh no, we can't have any of that. If it weren't for that, nobody would have known what the hell NASCAR even was, right? That built NASCAR. That started everything. And it's kind of the same thing with dirt racing. You see, so I remember rivalries. I remember fist fights at the racetrack. I remember all that. the one thing I do remember about it is usually when the fist fight was done, the shit ended right there. It was done. And if there is no fist fight, that shit will linger on all year long. Oh, I hate you, and this and that, bickering back and forth and door slamming each other, and just doing all that stuff. Where typically speaking, if somebody has a problem with somebody, old school mentality, you get in a fist fight, somebody gets their ass kicked, it's over. It's done. It's done. It ends right there. It's over. And again, good, bad, and different, I don't know. One thing that I do know as a race car driver, though, with the point average lineup system, I remember having to start 12th every freaking night, right? And we had the same idiots on the front row every single night that would literally spin out because they couldn't walk and chew gum, and it'd be the same guys. And it's still every night the same guys wrecking people every night. And it's not because they necessarily try to wreck them. It's just because they're so terrible that they don't know how to keep their shit straight. Well, guess what? They get a couple black eyes. They probably learn how to drive pretty quickly, at least how to keep the car straight. So, some of y'all know what I'm talking about out there. Some of you going, hell yeah, I'm all about that. And, that's just, we've seen down south, we see a lot more of that down south, whether it was North Carolina or Georgia or Alabama. It seems like they're not afraid to just get after it. And like,
oh yeah,
you piss me off, I'm going to knock your teeth out. It just is what it is. And like I can remember a handful of incidences, just a handful in our area. I remember a Jody Belfi Kelly Espy deal, right? And they got after it a couple times. One, there was an altercation on the racetrack, and whatever happened there, I feel like Kelly maybe got into Jody. I think Jody ended upside down, and Jody popped him in the head a couple times at Ogilvy on the racetrack. And then they were wrestling in the pits in Proctor, and shirts got ripped off, and I think there were some punches thrown there. And I remember the Broking clan, right? I'm good friends with John Broking and Bobby and Johnny Broking and Ed Wakefield. They called him Rambo back in the day. This guy was a talented race car driver, but he was off his chain, and he went down, and I think Big John gave him a kind of a little bit of a beat down there at Proctor. So you see this, but guess what happened? After that, I remember that one specifically, because Wakefield got his ass kicked. And I remember when that was all said and done, he went back up to the Brokings and said, hey, let's just put this behind us. Because he didn't want another ass beating, right? And it was done. At that point, it was done. It was over. There was never an issue again. So, right, wrong, and different. Again, me and you were not real big guys. Like, I would have gotten a fight. I ran my mouth a lot. I would have matched up with like Ishins or something and got my ass beat. It wouldn't have been very good, but I probably would have shut up pretty quickly, So, it just is what it is. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting topic, thinking about, should it be allowed? Should it not be allowed? What should the penalty be, right? If you get in a fist fight at the racetrack, should it be loss of all points, kicked out for 30 days? Should it be all that, or should it just be like, hey, you're kicked out for the night, no points for the night, no money, get your shit together, come back next week? I mean, that's what I think it should be. I don't think it should be this, like, throw the iron book at you, you're done. I think they're missing the whole boat.
Well, I mean, obviously it depends on the track and the promoters of the track, but each track has their own set of rules in that regard. I think I may have sent you the video of this earlier this summer, but one of the drivers in the IMSA stock car division at 141 Speedway was involved in an accident, and his car was done for the night, and during the caution, he got out of his car, ran towards the car that was parked in the corner because, I don't know, it was red flag or something that he thought caused the accident, and did the Jimmy Fly Snuka.
You better send that again. We need to post that. If you have that, send that to me again, because I don't remember that.
And landed on the hood of the other driver's car. And I don't know if I can find it again. I'll have to see if I can find it again. But my understanding is he wasn't suspended at all, because he went on to win the track championship in the division at the track. And I mean, he's actually embraced it and had T-shirts made about it. So,
and what was the most talked about? One of the most talked about things in dirt late model racing this year?
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, now several months later, let's take a look at the Tyler Erb Pierce incident. Looking back, I think his punishment was too much. I mean, really, the worst thing that happened was when he pulled away and the World of Outlaw official fell over and Pierce's dad fell over. But otherwise, looking back, I mean, it's not like he rammed full bore into Bobby's front nose. I mean, they went nose to nose and he revved it, and yeah, he pushed him a little, and he did his little tirade in the infield, and you know, they took away a steering wheel and whatnot. But looking back, you know, I'm coming to your side of this thing where the World of Outlaws, they took away a prime promotion. I mean, not necessarily promotion, but fans want to see those two race against each other.
Yeah, that's a great marketing opportunity. In fact, they've already been at the racetrack, the same racetrack since then. Like the following week, they were at the same racetrack. And now in World of Outlaws is like, oh no, we got to suspend them. Well, World of Outlaws, you better take a good look at your group of cars. You got like 10, right? And like there's like 4 good ones. So you start eliminating people that can race your events, and you might as well just like cancel World of Outlaws and say, screw it, we're not even going to have it. Lucas Oil is where it's at this year. And yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, and you look at it, and yeah, it was a little bit of a scary deal when he gassed it and the official was there, but I've been that hot-headed race car driver. You don't start sticking your hands and stuff inside of a cockpit when the driver's pissed off and kind of going off. You just that was kind of ill-advised by the World of Outlaw guy, and he should have been suspended for some period or fined or whatever for that because it was a safety deal. I get it, but that should be something that should be taught. An official does not go into the cockpit of a race car that's running. You're just looking for trouble. It just is what it is. Reminds me of the old, you ever hear about the old Steve Eggersdorf, the slammer incident at the Labor Day shootout at the Hibbing Raceway?
No.
You heard of Rick Eggersdorf, right? Steve Eggersdorf?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so slammer, they call him, Steve Eggersdorf. And I don't remember all that. I was really young at the time. I must have been 6, 7 years old. But there was an altercation on the track. Wrecker was going to pull him off. An official went. I think they were going to try to pull his mag. I think they were going to try to pull his ignition wire. It turns out he had a mag. And that official got a ride around the Hibbing Raceway on the hood of a late model, right? Cops came. It was quite the deal, right? So you don't. I guarantee that official doesn't do that twice. I guarantee he's not reaching in somebody's car that's running again. And if he does, and the same thing happens, that's his own dumb fault at that point. But, that just brings back. I mean, racing is part of the entertainment industry. And for things to be entertaining, you need a villain, and you need somebody that's kind of the good guy, and you need a battle, and you need that kind of stuff. And the minute they start taking away all of that, it's like, really? That's why people say, well, it's just a bunch of guys and gals driving around in a circle. Well, that's kind of what some places are trying to push it to be, right? We need rivalries. We need that kind of stuff to create that excitement, to get people talking about it. Because I guarantee you this, if there's stuff going on like that, people are talking about that stuff all week long. And dude, you are not going to believe what happened last week. This guy, they got out of their car on the racetrack, punched the guy in the face. I mean, you got to be there this Saturday. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be crazy. People show up. It just is what it is. So on my side of things, I'm like, this stuff needs to be, not only should it be like allowed, it should be encouraged. And should there be a penalty, maybe disqualification for the night? Even that deal that happened down in North Carolina, that was all they got was disqualified for the night. That's it. Like, you get no pay, no points for the night. That's it. That's all it was. And that was that. There was some punches thrown. I mean, there were some haymakers in that one. And but up in the WISSOTA/IMCA, you'd look at World of Outlaws, you look at NASCAR. I mean, they're like, oh no, we want to be, straight and narrow. I mean, dude, when NASCAR is kicking people out because they were drawing on a toaster strudel, really? Right? I mean, yeah. So I thought seeing that on Facebook, I'm like, man, this is a whole good topic right here. We got to talk about this, but that's enough of that. I think that was, unless you have something, anything you want to add or anything you want to close with on that.
No, I think well, let me just close with this. I mean, as a fan, you may not see fisticuffs, but if you know where to watch after a race, you may see some drivers have heated discussions. I mean, one of my, I shouldn't say it's my favorite thing to do, but one thing I like to do is, Shawano Speedway is configured where you can see the claim area from the grandstand. And so there are times when I'm not even watching the race that's on the track because I'm watching what's going on in the claim area. Well, really not the inspection area because there's not much claiming anymore. But, if drivers have an altercation on the track, sometimes it carries over into, that area. So there are times when I'm watching that instead of the actual race that's on the track.
and I'll close with this. Race fans are passionate. All right? They're passionate. I can't tell you how many times in my years of racing that me and another driver, we had all out screaming matches in the pits after the race, right? Immediately after the altercation, whatever happened. And, hour later, we're like over it. It's like, whatever. We said our piece. We're done with it. We're not happy about it, but whatever. And then the fans come down, right? And it all starts back up because they're way more heated. I've seen, and so have you, there was a fist fight up in the grandstands at Fergus Falls at the King of Dirt, right? So it happens in the grandstands, it happens in the pits, it's drivers, it's crew. Hell, you got Janae Gustin trying to been a boxing match with an official, right? So, you see, there's all of it, but it's all that passion. And if you take that passion away from the sport, what do we have left?
I agree.
There needs to be a fine line. It does, right? But if people start using weapons and stuff, that's way out of hand. But the fact of the matter is, let's not blow things out of proportion with penalties and fines and suspensions and all that. Let's just let it play out, use it as a marketing tool, create some excitement, grow the sport, and that's what we all want. Is we all want something exciting. So we're in Thanksgiving week, right? Let's get in the holiday spirit for just a little bit, right? Not that we weren't. That was pretty festive. I guess you look at it, the right family, they have boxing matches probably at Thanksgiving too, right? It's just part of it. But I'll just ask you, yeah, there you go. So what are you thankful for from the 2020 racing season?
Well, with 2020 being as crazy as it was, I am thankful that we had any racing season whatsoever. I'm glad we're not sitting here talking about iRacing like we were back in March and April.
Yeah, right on. Right on. Yeah. Anything else? What else are you thankful for in 2020?
Well, I'm thankful for, I've watched a lot more races online than I have in the past. And, so, I'm thankful that, I know we get critical on some of these races because the racing isn't that exciting or the track rubber's up or not, but I'm thankful that we have the opportunity to still watch those races if we want to. And, that's something that we didn't necessarily have, several years ago even.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Several years ago after the invitational season was done up here, my racing season would have been over. I wouldn't have been watching racing again until all the way till more than likely April, somewhere in there, unless I took a random trip down to Florida or whatever. So I'm pretty thankful. I'm pretty thankful for, the fact that I got to kind of spread my horizons a little bit. I got to do a little announcing this year. I'm pretty thankful for that. That was fun. Like you said, I'm thankful that racing happened. They got all these closures going on now again with the small businesses and all that. I'm thankful that happened after the racing season, right? So that we could have a racing season. And I am really thankful for the streaming, being able to watch multiple races every single week. There really is no off season. I'm extremely thankful for that. Companies like Dirt Race Central, Ben and John do such a fantastic job in our region. And there's a lot of national ones as well. But I'm thankful that them platforms are there, and I'm especially thankful that I don't have to watch races like, the ones in Alabama and stuff like that are 12 hours long. I'm glad I don't have to sit there for 12 hours to watch all that nightmare. I can just kind of pick and choose, right, because of that streaming device. So pretty thankful for that. Thankful that we get to do this show, and thankful that we're going to continue on doing it. So, Thanksgiving is upon us. We'll talk about that in just a second. But 4 races, there's probably more than that, but 4 stuck out to me coming up this week. And being that it's Thanksgiving week, I mean, it's going to be pretty obvious with the names of these events, right? Okay, we're going to start with the Gobbler 100, okay? 20,000 win for Lates. Bert, I didn't realize there was a 20,000 win race left.
I didn't either.
That's crazy. So this one is Friday and Saturday. It's on Flow, Cochran, Georgia. Okay. And, I'm anticipating seeing maybe Strickler, Madden, Overton, Dale McDowell. I'm not sure. I mean, it's 20 grand to win. Maybe Ricky Weiss shows up to that one. I'm not sure. So I'm assuming you're going to have some pretty good hot rods at that race for 20 grand to win. I don't know what the rest of the pay looks like. Bert, 4 classes of late models.
You'd be in heaven.
Oh, boy. Another race here coming up. The Leftover.
Let me say something. I mean,
what do you got?
I'm a late model fan. I enjoy watching late models, but I agree. 4 different classes of late models at one event, that's just overkill. And we've discussed this several times in the past too. The diehard fans may know the difference between the divisions, but the casual fan who's going to the track or watching the streaming event, I mean, you have to take that into consideration these days too. And it's just like, well, what's the difference between this one and this one and this one and this one?
You're exactly right. Now, the Leftover, Bert, 4 classes of lates at this one too. And this is on Saturday. Now, both these races are on Flow Racing, okay? This one's 5,000 to win for late models, for the main late models at the 411 Seymour, Tennessee. Hard to say. I'm kind of wondering, being that's in Tennessee, the other one's in Georgia. Does Ricky Weiss go race for 20 grand to win? Does he race for 5 grand to win, or does he go to any of them? It'll be interesting to see coming up here.
Yeah.
So that one's on Saturday night. Okay. Now the next one coming up here is kind of a smorgasbord. They got several classes. Friday they have X amount of classes. The late models are racing on Saturday. This is kind of like an MLRA type rule from what I understand. This is the Turkey Bowl, and this one's at the Springfield Raceway on, I think it's springfieldraceway.tv. Friday and Saturday night, you'll be able to catch the action there. So another festive one here. And then we got some, there's late models here too, but the Turkey Classic. And this is down at the Cocopah Speedway in Somerton, Arizona. And I think late models aren't really a big deal down there. So I think it's only 1,000 to win for late models each night. Mods, I think, pay a little bit more. IMCA. One thing I noticed there, Bert, Shaw Trucking, they're a sponsor of this event. So Don Shaw, he's won down there. He won last winter. He won a race down at Cocopah. This is on IMCA.tv. So 4 holiday-themed invitationals coming up. So you'll be able to catch some racing action this week. And, Bert, that's going to bring us to the last lap.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that we're to the last lap. But, yeah, we had some sad news over the weekend. Leroy Rumley passed away. Obviously the Rumley name is well known in the dirt late model national ranks, with Jonathan Davenport driving his cars, and several other top drivers have driven for them. So that was sad to hear that news on Sunday.
Yeah, it sure was. Our condolences to the Rumley family, all his friends, everybody involved with them. And I just mentioned Don Shaw. Don Shaw is kind of that guy that plays musical chairs with race cars. And this year, 2021, looks like he's got a brand new Capital chassis. Looks like he was down at Marshall Green's shop. I saw the picture of the 42 ride down there. Don't know if that's going to be primarily an open car, WISSOTA car. Don't know all the details on it. But Don Shadua Capital, and let's jump ship over here. A little bit of NASCAR stuff, Bert. What did you see happening in the NASCAR world?
Well, I guess the big news is that there will be no I don't even know who the sponsor of the Truck Series is, but the Truck Series has raced at Eldora Speedway. Well, they didn't this year because of COVID, but for several straight years they had a NASCAR truck race at Eldora, and they will not be going back to Eldora this year, but they will be racing on the dirt in Knoxville. I don't get too excited either way about these NASCAR things because, I mean, especially when they raced at Eldora, it was really an asphalt track anyway. They just packed it so tight, and yes, it's dirt, but you might as well say that they were racing on asphalt. I watched that race a few times, but I didn't plan around it. Let's just put it that way. If I happened to be home and wasn't doing anything else, I'd watch it. But I mean, if you want to get me excited, prepare the track like you normally do for a dirt race, and then let the trucks race, and then I'll get excited.
Bring them bad boys down to Fairbury, and I'll guarantee I'll be watching that one. Now we're going to jump, off the late model stuff, off the NASCAR stuff. One of my favorite series is that I watched this past year, the Steffes Street Stock Tour. And going into the year, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't going to be too excited about watching a street stock race. I just simply was not. But after watching several of these races on Dirt Race Central, oh my God, these guys and gals, because Maria Bruxick, she stole the show in one of these races. They put on a show. And they just expanded the series. So in 2021, they're making a trip over to the Red Cedar Speedway, Menominee, Wisconsin. And the very next night, yes, you're going to hear me correctly here, the Cedar Lake Speedway is hosting a WISSOTA Street Stock event. That's pretty cool. So I would love to see more WISSOTA events at the Cedar Lake Speedway, but this is a good start. And, I can't talk street stocks without talking about Frank Zulli. Zulli Performance, Zulli Race Engines. This guy, he builds a lot of championship caliber stuff. Justin Vogel, a former national championship driver in the WISSOTA Street Stocks, raves about his Zulli engines. Can a Zulli race engine maybe take the throne here in 2021 in the Steffes Street Stock Tour? We'll find out soon enough. But this is the time of year. Get a hold of Frank. He takes care of his guys and gals, right? But if you're looking for a switch up in the engine program, I can't say enough about this guy. He does a hell of a job. So give Frank a call. Now, let's jump back to Indianapolis. Now, do you have much details on that?
No, I don't. I actually don't have details on it. You were just telling me about that before the show started.
Well, I don't have a lot of details on it either. I read a little bit in the article, but Indianapolis is, the Brickyard, right? It's Indy racing. It's, and then they have some NASCAR stuff there. But when's the last time as a race fan that you heard of any real dirt racing around Indianapolis?
No, you don't.
Right? Well, evidently there is a gentleman, and I don't know all the details. There's some articles online, but there is a dirt track in the process of being built in Marion County right in the Indianapolis area. And in 2021, there is going to be dirt track racing there, and they're talking some pretty big stuff. They're talking everything from, sprint cars to late models to modifieds, UMP mods, open late models. They got some big plans. So as a diehard dirt track guy, I'm excited to see real racing, because asphalt to me is not real racing. Sorry, just isn't. But real racing being brought to Indy. So that's going to be pretty good. So Hoosier action in the Hoosier state. How about that, Bert?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to hear because, like you said, I mean, you think of the Indianapolis area, that's IndyCar, the Little 500, with the sprint cars on asphalt, but you don't hear anything about, you don't hear much anything about dirt racing.
No, you don't. And I think I'll end with this. So I interviewed James Trantina, new promoter, I guess new owner of the Granite City Motor Park, I believe it's called. And I interviewed him. He didn't tell me about this. This is a new announcement that came out today. I feel like I should kick his ass. Like, seriously. You can't, like, seriously. He didn't even tell me about this. I interviewed him like 2 days ago. But they sealed the deal today in Granite City Motor Park right by St. Cloud. They're going to host an IMCA event. It's interesting to me because it's a WISSOTA track. They're going to host an IMCA event. So Cliff Sasker, who's the promoter at the Princeton Speedway and owner at the North Central Speedway in Brainerd, they put together a huge deal. And I know the deal at Granite City is going to be on a Sunday, kind of to conclude the weekend there. They're paying $10,000 to win for IMCA mods, $10,000 to win for IMCA sport mods, and they're going to pay $5,000 to win for IMCA stock cars. So that when you look at them 4 nights of racing, I can't even imagine how many cars are going to be there, because that is 4 massive paying shows in the heart of WISSOTA country, right? Because the WISSOTA office is in St. Cloud, and the biggest weekend of racing is going to be 4 IMCA events. I don't know what to think about that, but I mean, the guys got the go big or go home mindset. You know, that's great for IMCA guys. What's going to be interesting to me is how many WISSOTA regulars are going to transition their cars over for that weekend of IMCA racing with that much money on the line. That's what's going to interest me. And we're so early in the fall / beginning of the winter, whatever you want to call it now, that not many people have their schedules out. It'll be interesting to see what's going on in the late model world, what's going on with all this other stuff, because you could maybe see a Ricky Thornton Jr. coming if there's no competing stuff going on that weekend. Chances are there will be, but it'll be interesting to see maybe, a guy like Jordan Grabowski, maybe Terry Phillips, Jake O'Neill. You start seeing some of these guys, and then there is a ton of IMCA guys. I'd honestly expect to see. For the life of me, I don't understand why you couldn't see 100 mods, 100 sport mods. Them numbers seem realistic to me, paying that kind of money. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, having that many races in a row is very good. Several years ago, for about 3 or 4 straight years, 2 other tracks would pay $5,000 to win around the $10,000 to win Clash at the Creek. They called it the Cheesehead Triple Crown Series, and I loved it. And I'm very disappointed that they don't do it anymore. I have a feeling I know why they don't do it anymore. But I mean, the last year that they did it, the 10,000 to win show got rained out, so they had to move that to a different night. And ever since then, they don't do that anymore. So I'm very envious of, the Minnesota tracks doing that. And that's in June, correct? Like June 20 something. So that's probably a week after the Clash at the Creek. So that's a 10,000 to win show in Wisconsin. And like Grabowski always comes up for that show. Terry Phillips has always been up for that show. You get a lot of the top runners, from the South. So yeah, I mean, they can stay an extra week and just travel over to Minnesota. And through my interviews with drivers at the Clash at the Creek, the drivers from the western part of the country, California and that, I mean, they come to Iowa and race all summer. So yeah, I mean, and yeah, you're in a close proximity to Iowa, so you're going to get, and that is the heart of IMCA country. So yeah, I mean, sure, your car counts, could be achievable.
Yeah, I mean, for that kind of money on the line, I hope so. As a race fan, as an enthusiast of the sport, I don't care if it's WISSOTA, IMCA, NASCAR, UMP. I don't care. I love watching dirt track racing. Everybody's got their opinions. This one's better, that one's better. And everyone's got good points and bad points. It's all fine and good. But the fact of the matter is, it's dirt track racing. There's a lot of money on the line. It should be something different. It's something exciting. And I really hope that the drivers really embrace this deal, because we as a racer, we all complain about payout. We're like, oh man, they got to pay us more. Well, here's a perfect opportunity where they can't say that. You're getting paid. There's some real money on the line here. So if there's real money on the line, show up, race for it, and compete for it, and see what you can do. One question on that: when they did no longer have them back-to-back $5,000 to win shows leading to the Clash at the Creek, did that affect the car count there?
I mean, actually, and I think this is part of the reason why they don't do the Cheesehead Triple Crown anymore, because that 5,000 win shows were actually after the Clash at the Creek. So when the Clash at the Creek gets rained out, when do you run it? Because you have two other tracks have 5,000 win shows the next 2 nights, and so that I think was the ultimate downfall of the Cheesehead Triple Crown series, and apparently the tracks couldn't work together. I mean, when the Cheesehead Triple Crown series started, I had hoped that they would continue to expand on it every year and turn it into something like the Dakota Mod Tour. My thing with specials is you start somewhere and each year you make it better. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. But as far as car count, I mean, at the 10,000 to win show, the car count has been pretty consistent at 70 to 80, 85 modifieds every year.
Yeah, and the reason I asked that is Terry Volz over at the Brown County Speedway in Aberdeen, they brought back this past year the Dakota Rumble, 10,000 to win, I believe 1,000 to start. Kind of some stipulations in there, but needless to say, it's $10,000 to win, big time show. And this is kind of a tough year to go off of because it was COVID. It was right at the early onset of the season starting for people. So a lot of the Wisconsin, a lot of the northern Minnesota guys said, "No, we're not heading over there." But they literally only had that show. And in years past, they had 2 or 3 shows leading into that. So I remember people like Harry Hansen and Provenzino and Peterlin, and they'd kind of make a trip over there, and they'd kind of hit all them shows, because it's tough to make a long distance trip for one event. Right, but if you can make a long distance event, hit 3, 4, 5 shows in a row, it's like, hey, we're going to plan our summer around this. We're going to take, if you work for somebody, you plan your vacation around that week, right? Because it seems like there's a special every week somewhere, right? But having these little mini series that are 3, 4, 5 nights in a row, that's fun, because there's a lot more to it than just the racing. And it reminds me like of the Superstock series. They go back-to-back weeks, and they have 3 nights. This year, they didn't have Sunday stuff, but it's supposed to be 3 nights one week, 4 nights the next week. And night 1 to night 4, I mean, there's people, they're partying, hanging out. It's after the races, people getting together. It's that kind of stuff that I love. It's kind of, that makes it a lot more fun than just a race. And one thing I know about Brainerd, one thing I know about Princeton is they have that atmosphere pretty regularly anyway. So that could be, I think this is going to be a hell of a good deal for those, and good to see that Granite City jumping on board, kind of capping out the week with a Sunday deal there. A lot of money on the line. Hopefully it goes good, not only for the drivers, the fans watching this, the sponsors, but that's a lot of money on the line for a racetrack. I mean, them are some big purses. So I really hope it works out well for them, that they can at least profit a little bit. I mean, I can tell you this: Cliff Saskler's not in the business, and neither is Trantina. They're not in the business of going, "Hey, we're going to have these events because we want to get rich." They already got businesses. They're already successful in life. They don't need the money. They don't need it, right? They're doing it because they love racing. They're doing it because they want to give back. They're doing it because they enjoy it, and they're doing it because they know what it takes to make racing happen. And if they can put more money on the line and give back to the sport, and they can at least break even, they're happy as all hell. So pretty excited for that deal. And, I guess we'll end there. Episode 56 in the books. And, like we said, Thanksgiving coming up here on Thursday. I personally want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I'm not even going to say be safe, because this whole like not visiting your family during Thanksgiving just is stupid, right? It just is what it is. Just I read something on Facebook today. It says, this is actually pretty good stuff. It said on Facebook, it says, if you look across the street at your neighbor's house and they happen to have 20 vehicles in their driveway on Thanksgiving, and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I should report these people. I should call the cops. Get up, walk to the refrigerator, open it up, get yourself a big old glass of ice cold milk and drink it down. Why? Because it's good for your teeth. You know what else is good for your teeth, Bert? Minding your own freaking business. Don't be turning in your neighbors, right? Have a happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Bert, any closing thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And yeah, I know we're being inundated with advice to, stay home, don't celebrate with family. Just be safe. Celebrate with family if you want to celebrate with family. I mean, we do live in the United States of America, so just remember that. But yes, take precautions, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Absolutely. So, a little cough there. Okay, it is what it is. I'm perfectly okay. Don't be scared, right? But the fact is, like Pook always says, go out there and be your dreams. Thanks for tuning in. We're the One to Go Show. I'm Ryan. That's Bert. We'll see you guys next week.